All right. Guess what, Andrea? We are live. All right.
I'm so
So,
excited.
hey guys, it's 2020. This is our second episode of this year on Stay Wild Child. And I'm super excited today because I owe a lot to this lady that you guys are about to meet, Andrea Housey. She runs Aqua Aura in Dallas, Texas. And she is just a really special friend. She is a life coach, she is an intuitive, and just has a real gift of connection. She's got a real knowing about her and always delivers, seems to me, the right message at the right time. And so, Andrea, thank you so much for joining me on Stay Wild Child.
Oh my gosh, what a privilege to be here with you. And um, earlier, before we got on, I posted that this is the energy of 2020, is forcing us to get out of our comfort zone and do things that normally we wouldn't do, to step into our light. So thank you for being my teacher today and allowing me to do something that makes me extremely uncomfortable, which is, first of all, to be live, and second, to most likely talk about me. So thank you for being my teacher, and thank you for all those beautiful things that you had to say about me.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So I do like to usually start with kind of where you were before this journey began for you, which we'll get to in just a moment. But I have to tell you guys, I saw Andrea, I think it was almost 2.5, 3 years ago. I decided to schedule a life coaching session with Andrea. And I kind of didn't know what I was getting into whenever I went to meet you the first
Neither
time.
do I, Nicole. Neither do I. I never know what we're gonna do.
Right. And so when we have a mutual friend, and I'd gone to lunch with this friend, and she had just raved about Andrea, and she sees Andrea for coaching, and she'd raved about her. And I said, okay, I'd love to book an appointment. And it was the first time I'd ever had my tarot cards read. And so, did you know that?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah, I don't think I told you. So it was my first time. And so I was like, just kind of like, oh, and you gave me so much information that day. You did some numerology with me. And I want to say you did some Reiki at the time as well. But one of the messages that you sort of spoke into my life is that I was going to be a life coach. And I said, what? Hell no. I was like so resistant. And I didn't see you for a year. Like, I didn't come back for a year. I come back a year later, and you're like, oh, I remember you. Like, we met, like, it's been a while. And I said, yeah, it's been a year. And you're like, oh yeah, you're a life coach, right? And I go, well, that's what you told me a year ago. And it looks like that's what I'm stepping into.
It only took you a year to accept that, right?
It's right. It only took me a year.
Good.
But it's just interesting though, because at that particular moment, I couldn't see it, but I loved the clarity and your knowing, and you're really tapping into me, right?
Yeah.
And helping me see my own vision and my
Yeah.
own expansion.
So really, truly, what happens is, and as I do this more and more, I understand it a little bit better. But really, truly, what I'm doing is I'm connecting to your higher self. I am connecting to your oversoul, the one that already knows what the plan is. So I act a little bit as your translator for a little bit until you're completely connected with it, and then you don't need me anymore.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Gosh, I love the way that things are shifting in this world.
Yeah.
And we have the opportunity to now connect with our higher selves, which, was not even a word that I knew probably 10 years ago, and now it's, something that I practice at daily. So,
And
yeah,
that you are more open to it, right? You can have
absolutely.
conversations with regular people about this. Used to be very hush hush, very quiet. We don't talk really about what is going on with me or what I do, what I believe in. And now it's like becoming the normal thing, right?
Absolutely. Yes. Okay. So I know you know this already, but the group is Stay Wild Child, and it is truly helping women remember who they are before the world told them who they were supposed to be. You know, we have these expectations that we put on ourselves, society does, and we feel like we have to achieve these things, and if not, then we're not the perfect mom and the perfect wife and blah, 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 friend and blah, 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 blah. So I know that a lot of times people will look at the steps that you and I have taken in our lives and think, oh, well, yeah, of course she can do that, because that's just kind of been, you know, who she always is, who she always was, which for sure was not the case for me.
It was
And I'm
definitely not
assuming,
there.
yeah. So take us back just a little bit and just kind of share with us, you know, what did life look like before Aqua Aura began?
Okay, so before Aqua Aura, I worked in the corporate world. I used to work for home health, and that was kind of part of my life for at least 15 years. So, you know, I was very intuitive growing up, but I was kind of told not to really pay attention to that side of me. And I had a really cool experience, kind of similar to yours. I went to see a person for the first time. And when she saw me, she said, "You're going to be doing what I'm doing, and you're going to be leading a lot of women." And I said, "Well, you're right about that. I do work with a lot of women, and I am in a position where I kind of leadership." So, and she's like, "No, honey, you don't understand. You're going to be doing what I'm doing." I'm going like, "That's crazy." After I saw her within a year and a half, my life completely transformed. And I had to, like I like to call it, get out of the closet, the psychic closet. I got actually kind of pushed to do it. It was not comfortable. And as you can also relate, Nicole, you know, going through a transition of what you understand as life and then changing that completely, you know, it's uncomfortable.
Sure.
And it's scary, and it's uncomfortable for the soul, and it's also uncomfortable for the souls that we live with. So it was quite hard transition from going from the corporate world into venturing out into being on my own and doing something I have never done before, and looking at my poor husband, who's very square. He's very analytical, and telling him that, you know, now I'm a psychic and I'm going to go do what I love. So it was really, when we talk about awakenings, you know, we have several throughout our lifetime. For me, that was a huge awakening on, I had to lose the way that I understood my life to be asked. And I had to completely rebuild a new foundation. First of all, of understanding who I was now, because I was no longer that person, you know, from 30 something years ago that only worked from her mind.
Right.
I had to step into living and believing that it was possible to live completely from the heart. And as an individual, it's a process to understand that part of yourself. And also as an individual, it's hard to see the ones around you in fear because you're making such a big, difficult changes.
Sure.
So for my family, it was difficult. For my husband, difficult. And of course it was difficult for me, but I had to remember, which I love what you do for women, because it's all about remembering who you are at your soul essence, at the core. And I had to remember that I had a bigger calling. And, you know, the rest is history. But it took a lot of bravery.
Absolutely. Talk about your heart opening. Do you feel like that's been a process? Has it?
100%. So, you know, you come to class sometimes and you hear me talk about, you know, what the real meaning of the Sacred Heart means to me. You know, when we depict Mother Mary or Jesus with their heart cracked open in flames, right? It's my understanding from what Spirit has shown me is that sometimes we have to go through difficult times that break our heart, but that expansion creates the ability for us to love more, understand more, forgive more, right? So through the growth, I like to call it growth, not pain, But through that growth, it gives me the ability to expand that heart bigger and bigger than I thought it would ever go to, right? And it starts always with first, it teaches us how to heal our own heart first, right? Because my heart breaks, so I have to figure out how to soothe it, how to love it, how to make it better, so then I can go step into that role of, okay, now I can go take care of the heart of my husband because he's having such a hard time dealing with this shift. Or now I can really go take care of my clients, right? Because now I understand really truly what it means to be going through this shift.
So talk about, if you don't mind, so I take a lot of classes at Andrea's, and I'm wondering if you would define it as where you were, I know you're still definitely coaching individuals. It seems to me the people that you're attracting, at least what I've noticed here recently, it seems like you're attracting those who are truly stepping into their purpose and they're wanting to expand. So it's almost as if you're training teachers and guides now.
Yes. So it starts with, you know, the individual, right? Like me, I had no idea what I was doing. So I had to go and do this classes myself, right? And then you figure it out that you're here to do something bigger. And now you're going to have to go touch the lives of everyone that you see every day. So that's where you step into that role of the teacher. And then for you and some of the people that come to the class is for people who are really truly now trusting that they are here to touch in a bigger way. Because we touch everyone daily, right? We go to the grocery store and I touch whoever is there, right? You guys, you're ready to step in front of a bigger audience and encourage them to do the same thing you did. Because at the end of the day, we all will become teachers.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk just a little bit then about the energy of this year. Do you mind going into that? I know we do it in class, so I thought it would be kind of cool to talk just a little bit about that.
Sure. So let's see. Let's talk about 2020. So the number 2020 reduces down to a number 4, right? You have a 2 plus a 0 plus a 2 plus a 0. So that's a 4. The number 4, it's a number of stability. I always use the reference of thinking of the number 4 as think about a chair or a table, right? You have 4 legs, and the 4 legs makes you feel very stable by sitting on this chair that we're sitting on at this time, right? You know, it makes me feel comfortable. It makes me realize that I'm not going anywhere. That's kind of part of the energy of this 2020. It's going to help us find that stability within ourselves and the things that we're doing. The number 4, you know, I always also make the reference of think about a square. You know, I tease about my poor husband all the time about, you know, having 4 equal sides, right? And not being very flexible and being very, you know, rule oriented and want to make things very perfect. That's kind of like the energy that we're going to feel this year. We're going to feel an urge to get things done, to get them done in a way that is solid, to maybe go a little bit beyond our normal routines to make things a little bit more consistent. This is an energy that is really going to make us tap into being a little more organized, a little bit more detail oriented, you know, things that normally we wouldn't do. Like, you know, I'm a Sagittarius, my energy is all over the place, but I could feel the energy of the 4 coming in December, kind of having me start doing more lists anymore, you know, like creating lists of things that I need to accomplish, kind of looking at the bigger picture of what fundamentals, one foundational things do I need to start doing to do my job, right? So right now we all are going to be asked to maybe create plans, to maybe create curriculums, to maybe create the ability to post on bigger platforms, because now you have Facebook, so now you want to go do something that is going to give you more of a solid foundation for your business. So personally and also for business, we're going to make sure that wherever we are feels stable.
Right.
So we are going to hear a little bit of story from people saying, you know, I just figured out that what I'm doing is not what I want to do the rest of my life. Or we're going to figure out of, you know what, I really love what I'm doing, but I really think it's time for me to go do this independently. So this year, it's all about setting those foundations that are going to take us through. There will be a lot of determination, and there is a lot of the energy of that Capricorn. So 2020 also, no coincidence, right? That we're going to be, Jupiter is going to be into Capricorn the whole, most of the year, all the way until December 20th of 2020. And Capricorn, it's the same thing that I just explained about that for, right? They're focused, right. They're idealistic, they're hard workers, they like to get things organized. They want to make sure that things get done in a certain way, right? They're very focused on earthly things, right? They want to make sure that our home is secure. They want to make sure that they have a stable job. They want to make sure that the relationships they're in are stable. So we're going to see a lot of that theme throughout the year. So we're going to have a lot of time to think about, how's my relationship? What do I need to do in this relationship to make it more solid? Or what's no longer working in this relationship? So this is going to be a little bit of the theme for 2020 collectively.
Right.
And we all go into our own independent stories, depending on where we are, right? But either way, it's all about trying to find the security that we're looking for.
I feel the pull so strongly. I feel the organizational pull, which is not normally my thing.
Yeah, I'm a Sagittarius. I mean, I love, I can be very organized for some things, and for other things, I'm really free-spirited. But from December on, I start feeling more and more the need to get things purged, right? To simplify life, to how am I going to get steps in place to make things easier for me? Normally, I would be not interested in those things and would allow more things to just kind of come. Now I'm thinking more a little bit of ahead. So there is that planning part of what's coming up for 2020 for most of us, is getting us to think a little bit more ahead. Normally I don't, but right now we're being asked to think a little bit ahead. Now, the only thing that I do kind of recommend we all do during this time, because it could be a time that feels restrictive, right? Because especially, we just kind of express how normally this is not how I operate. What I recommend is that we are gentle with ourselves, that we stop and have some fun, that I always pick a word for the year. My word for this year is flexibility, because I don't want to become too rigid. Right? You and I both understand that we are creators and we create all the time. So if I'm creating from an energy that makes me feel a little stiff and hard and rigid, then I'm not manifesting as quick as I would like to.
Absolutely.
When I am in that energy of joy and heart center, and really truly feeling like, this is not an effort, this is something that I'm learning to do, then I tend to manifest quicker.
Sure.
Yeah.
I totally feel that, because it's interesting. I had this, she's like a success coach, and she was offering a free online course on creating workshops. And I've created a workshop before, but I thought, well, you know what? I can always up my game. And so I watched her course. It all made amazing sense. And I was like, this is beautiful. So I got into the creation mode, started working on this workshop. Someone else mentioned to me, another person who was talking about social media and how to up your social media game. So I plugged into that and I watched that. And then I felt the pressure start coming on about the getting it all done, because not everything. So I started feeling that, and my typical work hard Nicole mode would have kicked in and she would have dug in, driven in. But I didn't feel the flow, and I was taking the fun out of it because I was implementing pressure. And so I said, okay, time out. We'll come back. we're going to come back to this.
Right.
Because I'm aware enough now to want to create in a place of that good feeling energy. Yeah. And so when it felt pressurized, I would think that old Nicole would have gone back to that old, perfectionism, got to get it done. You're on a timeline. There's no timeline.
Come back and review. Okay. So
Yeah.
we're actually, I'm glad we're talking about this, because we're about to, after February 2nd, we're going into a whole bunch of retrogrades for the year. So retrogrades mean go back within yourself, go revise, go make sure that what you planned out is sound. To recheck. So we also have to start listening to the flow of things, right? Right now they're telling you have fun, just put your ideas down, let's get organized, get at least your thoughts organized, right? So because then we're going to go into a time of cleanup, deciding that works, that didn't work, I want to make this more, strict or maybe more loose here. So that's what that time is for. Right now, you have to listen to them. They're saying, yes, start setting foundation, but have fun with it.
Yes. I'm so glad that you offer, I feel like my intuitive gifts obviously are opening because, I'm allowing them and I'm practicing at them.
Yeah.
And so, and also I love the group environment that you've created that gives us the ability to practice with each other and really just celebrate each other's knowingness. And so that's
ability to just be.
Right. Yeah.
A safe place where you can just be, right? You don't have to be Nicole that has to have it all together all the time. You don't have to be Nicole who's worried about expressing a feeling or an intuitive thought that she had, right? Yeah. She gets to just say, hey, I felt this, or I know this. And that gives so much validation, right?
Sure
and gives so much confidence. And it just kind of makes by watching other people doing it too, it makes you feel like you're not alone.
Yeah. Exactly. You've definitely cultivated a very safe space for giving, and it's mainly women. Every once in a while, a guy shows up, but it's just really encouraging and championing women to step into their own unique gifts and powers, and I appreciate that of you.
It's about living in authenticity.
Yes.
Right? We all hear that word, and sometimes it's kind of annoying to me when everybody's like, be authentic. Like, well, what does that mean to you? So being your authentic self is being able to connect with your soul's essence, right? Being me all the time without having to worry about whether I said something that I felt because, no one understands that, or I saw something and I felt really confident about saying, hey, I just saw a little bright light around you. I might not know what that means, but I saw it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That continues to feed your light, because you start understanding, okay, I'm a special being.
Yes, you start to speak it and be it and know that it's a safe space, and you have the opportunity to allow your light to shine.
Yes, for sure. And then that gives you confidence, because then, like I was saying earlier, Nicole is touching, think about all the people that you touch every day, Nicole.
Right.
So not only you're living in authenticity, but you are bringing that energy, that vibration to everyone around you.
Yeah.
So you're encouraging the same.
Yep. That's definitely my goal. I want others to be able to feel their own personal empowerment and step out of the closet, like you said. Step out of our little wild, out of our wild little closet.
Out. Hey,
yeah.
What's so funny is that we as human beings create stories all the time about what is going to happen, how we're going to be perceived, what's going to work, what's not going to work. right? We just all the time creating these stories. So what I have learned to do is I sit with whatever fear I have and I really look at it and I say, okay, so what's your biggest fear? That you're going to come out and say that you're psychic and your family are going to look at you and go like, you're such a liar. You're not. That's kind of what happened for me.
Yeah.
It's going to push you to be able to do many things, right? By the way that they react, they're going to push you to look at your true fear. And once you look at it, you realize that it's really not that terrible.
Right.
Right? Like, okay, I survived that. I just told that to a friend of mine. I was like, let's go back. She was so afraid about making a change. And I said, okay, let's go back in life. How many times have you overcome obstacles? And she looked at me and she's like, well, a lot. And I said, well, perfect. And are you here right now with me? And she's like, yes. I said, well, then think about a year from now when you overcome this.
Exactly.
Right? So
Yes.
it's about releasing those stories that we tend to create.
Mm-hmm.
And remembering that, no matter what, you got to keep moving forward, right?
Mm. Yeah. 100%. Totally. It is. So we create these fear patterns in our minds, and the story just gets bigger and bigger. And really, when you break it down, there's not that much validity to it, if any.
It's evidence of reality. And what I tell people all the time is if you're going to spend all this time at night creating worst case scenarios, why don't you just spend that time staying up at night and creating the outcomes that you want?
Yes.
It's energy that you're using at that time, right? Everything we think about, everything that we feel is being manifested and being created instantly. So when I catch myself going into the road of, oh my gosh, the world is ending, I go like, okay, wait a minute. Cancel, clear, delete that thought. And now go create the world that you want to see.
Yes. Yeah. So I did right before we started today, my word for 2020 is celebrate. And it's, yeah, it is too. So last year was intention. This year is celebrate. And it's to celebrate all of the things, because we're still going to have triggers, and reality is going to pop up, and fears will project. And so I'm celebrating those things because it gives me the opportunity to then take a look into that and see where maybe I've given away my power, or I haven't set a healthy boundary, or I'm holding some resentment, and how to go in and clean up that piece, right?
Absorbent, right? You're doing your own work. Perfect.
Yeah. So the celebrate also comes in a lot of gratitude. And so I've kept a gratitude journal starting this year, and it's just how quickly that, and I feel like I've always been a really grateful person, but when you really take the pen to paper and you really start to write it down, and all of the things, right? The little things and the triggers and all of it, it truly starts to change that vibration, because you're looking at it from such a different view.
Well, that's part of it. There's actually many things that you're doing with that. And the first thing that you're doing is you're cleaning your vessel, right? Remember, you're a container, kind of like that water bottle that you have right there.
Right.
So every time you put things to, your thoughts and your feelings and your emotions into paper, you are manifesting them. You are creating them into a reality, and you're cleaning your vessel, right? So it's not stagnant in your body anymore. And so it's out, right? It's been manifested to something solid that you can actually see. And for manifestation of gratitude, then that what you're doing there is you're sending out your order to the universe every time you do that. You're saying, thank you, I like this. Please bring me more.
Yes.
So that's why that works, right? And a lot of people say, well, I'm not into journaling. Don't journal. Don't worry about it. Just go write on a piece of paper. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. It doesn't matter how it's spelled. Most of mine are English and Spanish and gibberish and whatever. But it's the thought of having, first of all, to cleaning yourself up, not holding on to those things, and second, to send your order to the universe. Fill in your order of what you want to, it's kind of like going to Amazon.com, right? You go in and you click this one, that makes it into reality.
Yeah.
Unless you click on those buttons, it's not going to come to you, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's what you're doing every day.
I love the rituals that I have learned through this creation process that have, I've picked some up from you and some up from others, but these rituals that you create around this abundance and manifestation. And if you can get into the habit of recreating those rituals, it's, well, like the journal, or like, when you've manifested or created something, and getting into that feeling and remembering that feeling, locking that feeling in so you can get to that vibration again, so that more things.
You do that, Nicole, the better, because what happens is the rituals are just part of the re-recording of your cellular memory.
Yes.
Okay, so the more and more you do that, the more re-recordings you have, and then eventually will become a natural thing you do. So at one point, you're going to notice that it's not necessary for you to sit down with a pen and paper anymore.
Okay. Okay.
It's just that I'm going to use myself as an example. For 42 years, my cellular memory is being vibrated at a frequency, right? It already remember what triggers fears and trauma and senses of not being able or not being capable of, right? Those are automatic. I don't have to think about it. Right?
Sure.
The new ones that I want to create, like remembering that I am this beautiful being of light and manifestation and power. Those are the ones that I have to do with ritual every day to remember. To remember, to allow my body, my cells, my soul to remember. And then it becomes activated within your body, and it's a normal thing. It's like, I tell people all the time, when you start riding a bicycle, you're kind of checking in how everything is, and my feet and the mirror and the steering wheel, and you want to make sure that everything you're thinking, your mind is still in the process, right? And one day you just get on that bike and then you don't think anymore about those things. You just do it. So this is part of the ritual. The ritual helps us in tune our energy into that vibration.
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Great way to explain it. Absolutely. It's true, because I'm retraining lots of stories that I've told myself for years about not having time, right? So not having time, lots of, so this may not be the right word, but I felt like I could come up with excuses around not taking better care of myself. And for me, taking better care of myself were things like, I work out now, but before, don't have time to work out, don't have time to meditate, don't have time, for all these things. And it's interesting now that I've created these rituals around, play for me, working out, self-care, right? Exactly. Once I've created these rituals around it, it's interesting how I have more than enough time to do all of these things, and they just flow naturally. But I've rewritten that story, right?
Yeah, you have chosen to create, so you understand what has happened in the past,
right?
And what you experienced with that, and you have decided that now you're going to go create a different kind of story. And so we're in creation mode all the time, because you're going to do that for a while, and then you're going to go, you know what? Now I'm ready to create something else.
Yeah.
Now I'm ready to go do something different than I was doing before. And that's important, that we continue to listen to that desire.
Yes.
Because it's a desire, right? And then we're gentle with ourselves when we don't listen to that desire right away. Yeah.
Grace. Yeah.
Lots of it every day.
Yeah, totally. So one of my favorite little workshops that we just did, and I actually have my little box right here, was our Magic Box workshop. And I have been really utilizing this. We have talked just a little bit about the money. And talk a little bit about the money that goes in this little box.
Well, I mean, it's more than money.
Okay.
It's the ability for you to activate, that vessel that we talked about, right? That container that we clean and refill all the time. It becomes a magnet.
Yeah.
So what we're doing with that little box is activating our power to magnetize to our lives the things that we're desiring. And because we are magical beings, I think magic is so cool. And it's not scary. I used to be scared of it.
Me too.
And I used to think it was not, the way that I grew up. And, it used to be like, oh, no, you don't do that. Or, that's kind of too woo-woo. But it's not. It could be very simple and very fun, as long as you're doing it from the right place, right? And we always talk about, you always come from that heart center. So utilizing herbs and oils and crystals and intention. So now I'm having all this, resources, and I'm putting them all together. It's almost like I'm making a very powerful magnet.
Right. Yeah.
You remember the first thing we did with that box was grab it and put it where?
Our solar plexus.
Heart and solar plexus, right? Because it's my power. It's not someone else's power that I'm using with this. It's not someone else's will. It's not someone else's desires. It's mine. It's my power. I have the power to go and attract the things that I desire. And then I tell them to put it also in your heart, because we want to create from that space. Not from the space of fear, of lack, or of not having enough, or worry, but from that place where we know that, if my heart is saying, I want to have enough money to go to Bali with Nicole in the fall time, then why not? I should be able to listen to that desire.
Absolutely.
So yes, it's about manifesting all those things, all of them, right? That we desire. Money is important. I think I teach you guys this a lot, how it's important for us to love money.
Yeah.
To allow money to come in and out, because it's energy.
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes when we start feeling guilty and we start going like, well, I already have too much. I really don't need any more. Right? No, there's always that opportunity to draw more, because once we have a lot, we tend to be generous, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We tend to be generous with ourselves and with everyone around us.
Absolutely.
So yes, we use that money box to create more abundance in our lives, more financial abundance in it. I use it a lot to put in, like my lottery tickets, a check, and note to myself about wanting to, have more clients, or maybe is having, enough money to take that trip.
Yeah.
Or, there might be some little things in there, and there are also some big items in there that I want to continue to create and raise my vibration.
Right.
See, it's about the vibration. The universe doesn't really hear me speaking. It feels me. It's just that when I speak it, there's a vibration that comes out of me, right? So sometimes I have to raise my vibration enough to be able to attain those things. So there might be some items that stay in that box for a long time, and other ones are ready to go for quickly. And that tells you where your vibration is at. So as you start becoming successful with these things, then you go like, oh my gosh, look at me.
Yeah.
I need to be proud of myself. I just went one vibrational nut.
Exactly.
And that kind of makes sense. And from that energy, you get to build more. So I always tell people, don't get discouraged if you don't start manifesting things right away. That's okay.
Right.
Because vibrationally, you're not a match for it at this time. Mm-hmm. You continue to work on it until you are that match. And then you start getting them to you, and you go like, oh my gosh, look at me. Look at that growth. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did I answer your question?
Totally. I love I love the ritual of it, of holding the box, and of I've been utilizing it. I do have some wishes, some things that I want to create that I've written down and put in the box, but I also have been exchanging money in and out of the
Oh,
box. I was not much of a cash carrier,
yeah.
but I loved the way that you talked about. And we have an oil that we created, and some other things that are beautiful in this box. But I love and I just did it right before we got on this call. um, I've been using the box, and I've been taking cash, and I've been anointing the cash with the infinity sign with the oil, and I'll put money in, and then I'll take money out, and I've kept a flow going. And for someone who I feel like I never have cash,
Uh-huh.
my wallet always has cash in it.
I'm telling you that in it must have been like 2013 or 2014, the first time that I created this box.
Right.
My life changed. It really did. I was that person too who only used her credit card because my story was, I know where I spend it.
Me too. Same story.
I know where I spend it. That was my story, right? And I would go anywhere and I would never really have cash.
Right.
So I decided that I was going to start carrying cash and put it in my box and allow that money to get infused with all that beautiful energy. And then every time I used it, I was going to be able to go share it, that luck, that abundance with the world. And see that again, it goes back to feel you first, and then you'll have enough to share with others. And that has been such a blessing for me since 2013. Every time I open my wallet, I have cash. It's unbelievable. It's crazy.
It's magic.
It is magic. And what I love about it sometimes too is that sometimes I put things in there and I forget about it and I go out with my life, and then a few weeks later I open it and it always seems to be like there's more than I left there before. My husband teases me. He's like, you don't remember putting money in there. But whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It seems like it's growing.
Sure. And that's the whole point.
You guys have experienced that too.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, really. I love it. And I'm excited. You took us on a meditation. I think it was in December. And you took us on a meditation, and you took us back to where we were a year ago. And so I don't look in the past often, except for, for lessons, but I love that, now we've created this box, and where are we going to be in a year from now, right? How many things are going to come out of this box that we have created and brought forth into our lives? So I like that.
Oh, I love it. I really enjoy going back in time and to do many things. I go back in time to look at myself a year ago because that person a year ago had so much fear.
Yeah.
That person a year ago had some challenges. That person a year ago had some desires. So I always like to go back and visit with that person.
Yeah.
And encourage her to keep going forward and to forgive her for anything that she needs forgiveness on, and to also to remind her that we made it.
That's
right. Isn't that amazing? I mean, I love to look at, when you go back and you go look and see my fears, like for me right now, I can go back 30 minutes ago, 40 minutes ago, being in this call with you.
Right.
For Andrea, who is freaking out, right? And say, look at you, you did it. It was just fine. So that everything you do to yourself to empower you.
Yes.
To empower you, to remind you that, you're just light. Darkness cannot live in light. It's impossible.
Yes.
So yes, creating whatever works for you, right? The ritual of the box, the ritual of gratitude, the ritual of saying, forgive me, the ritual of being optimistic, whatever it works for you. It doesn't work for everyone the same way. So that's why we present different different, that's what we do in class, right? Maybe you can use the cards. Maybe you might like to just hold hands. Maybe you don't need anything.
Right.
Right? But it's trying to figure out what works for you. And when you find that thing that works for you, then you go run.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You make it yours and you run with it and you use it every day. And then one day you'll realize that the ritual is over because now you're an autopilot.
Right.
Can you imagine what that's going to be like, Nicole, when you're an autopilot?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Pretty exciting. Yeah, exactly.
Pretty exciting. I love that you're so ready to share everything that you have learned with everyone. That's
right.
That's so much, that's so needed, right? In society, we have so much, I'm going to use the word envy, or, a lot of people are like trying to hold on to something and not share it with the world.
Sure, like a lack mentality that there's not enough or something.
Correct. And I love that, everything you're learning, you're taking and you're sharing and you're so excited about. That's what makes other people excited and wanting to try it. And think about how, their lives are going to improve.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you for doing such an amazing job with women out there.
Oh, Andrea, you're so sweet. Thanks, girl.
Well, like-minded people find each other.
That's right. That's right. All right. So so Andrea's in Dallas and she has some events coming up, and I'm maybe putting you on the spot and you may not know what events you have coming up. But,
I know some.
Okay. So just share a few of them.
That 4-year Capricorn. So I had to do some planning this year.
That's right. Okay. So why don't you share just a few events that you have coming up, and then also whenever the live finishes, I'll put your Facebook page so they know how to get in touch with you if anybody ever wants to attend one of your events or one of your workshops, or even see you for a personal session.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so every other Thursday night we have the Intuitive Happy Hour, and that's one of the ones that Nicole comes to. The next one is actually going to be this Thursday, so I think it's the 3rd. It's funny how it happens. It's going to coincide with that new moon in Aquarius. So lots of fun stuff and manifestation, and we'll talk about that kind of stuff. On February 8th and 9th, I am doing Learn to Read Tarot Intuitively. So it's a 2-day intense workshop on teaching you how to read tarot cards. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of information, but it's a lot of fun. January 30th, I have my last magic book class for the year. I won't have that class again until December of 2020. I still have a couple of spots available. That's a fun class.
It's a fun class. I liked that one a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there is a healing class that I'm putting together, most likely the last weekend in February. That's going to be also a full day thing where we're going to learn about energy medicine. There is Reiki in there. So if anyone is interested in learning Reiki, I'm not calling it Reiki 1 because there is so much more that we can cover in addition to the Reiki. I don't want to limit ourselves.
Sure.
That's going to be last weekend in February. There is a mala making silent retreat meditation that is going to happen actually on February 22nd. Probably that's a Saturday, I think. That's a lot of fun too. You can come learn to make your own mala beads, and I teach you how to use them, and we do a lot of meditating. It's
silent, huh?
It's I call it silent, and everybody freaks out.
Yeah.
It's from 10 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Silent part comes in because as I'm teaching you guys how to do your own mala, you're sitting there in meditation and you're putting it together. So there's a lot of intention that goes into working with the beads because we're infusing them with that energy. So we'll do that, but I am walking you guys through it through the whole time. And of course, there is opportunity for questions. And I always do those guided meditations.
Right. Yes.
So it is silent because I encourage more of the inner voice, as opposed to kind of like what we have in the class, which is a lot of fun, and we laugh and we share. That kind of makes sense?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So that's happening. And then I know for sure we are going to be taking 2 retreats this year. One, we're going back to Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Nice.
We did that one in November, and it's so much fun. There's a vortex of energy that just it's being reactivated. It's been there for a long time, but it's been more active. I should use that word. And that's why we're going back to that space. And then we're also going to go to Mexico to see the pyramids in May. So the full of stuff happening all the way till May. I think that's all I have for now. I think there will be other kind of workshops that will come in. I'm doing an Angels one-on-one. I think everyone wants to do that. The Archangel and Angels class.
Oh, so, yeah, that's great, right.
That is a lot of fun. So that one I'll put somewhere in between all that time.
Sure. Oh, you've got a lot of great stuff planned for this year.
Well, it's that 4 energy.
Yeah, of course.
And absolutely. You got to get busy, and we got to get things done, and we got to help others. Channel that same energy. So that's why the 2 retreats are important there too, because they're going to be helping people work better with this 4 energy.
Right.
Yeah. A little focus and a little bit more of that cleaning up. We probably need to do a lot of cleansing and purging. Mm-hmm. Get you guys ready for the end of 2020.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I think this has been just perfect, and I so appreciate it. I know you're out of your comfort zone, and yet you just shined. And I know that you've encouraged and spoke to a lot of people, and I'm sure that we'll have some more people in our classes now too. We always have some great time.
It's such a fun time. You're right. It's such a fun time. It's one of my favorite things to do, to be there and just be.
Yeah. And celebrate, and celebrate the aha moments and when you see somebody's light turn on, you're like, oh, you said just the perfect thing to me. Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I needed, to take that next step, right?
That's right. Actually, this is interesting. I had a new client that had come into the class one time, and then she called me back to give me some feedback, and she said, I would like to come, but it seems like everyone there are friends, and I wouldn't want to break the little friendship. And I said, what? She's like, yeah, they're all friends outside of the group because they seem like they all get along so well. But that's the perception that you guys are giving, that you guys have been long-time friends.
Wow, interesting.
So I thought, how amazing is that they're being perceived as being sisters and friends for a really long time. So when I told her, I don't even think that they really know or do things outside of the circle.
Yeah,
she was like, hey, it's how did they get to be so open and so comfortable with each other? So I thought it was the most beautiful compliment.
Oh, it totally is. And a lot of it's because of the sacred space that you've created. So, yeah.
It's easy when you have the right group of people.
Yeah, good energy brings in good energy.
Oh, yeah. We don't allow these time. Thank you.
That's right. Well, thank you, Andrea, for being the guest on Stay Wild Child today. Absolutely. Y'all have a blessed Monday.